Well, as we all know, the Indianapolis 500 is one of, if not the most difficult races in the world to win. And no one knows that better than the 43 drivers featured in this new exhibit, all of which have their own unique stories about the day they finished second. Anytime you miss a game-winning field goal and kick a couple out of bounds like Rodrigo Blankenship did, you're putting yourself at risk of being unemployed the next week. And obviously we saw that happen. I do think it's fair to ask the question if the Colts made a move just for the sake of making a move, or if this actually made them better. 0 sacks allowed by the Colts offensive line. That was clearly the story. And the guy who led the charge at left tackle, the guy we've been clamoring to see, Dennis Kelly, the veteran, finally got his shot, and he performed well. This place holds over 17,000. There were probably 11, 12,000 Hoosier fans in here tonight, and Fort Wayne just never really let them get into it. IU had a 5-6 point lead there midway through the first half, but the Dons kept their composure. They continued to battle. They were able to scratch and claw their way into the lead. And then, again, Justin, they just got hot in the second half, and all you heard were the people dressed in blue here tonight. Yeah, and you heard Overstreet talk about it, and Anthony Contreras alluded to that as well. Maybe a little bit tense. Obviously, this is the first time in a big championship series for a lot of these guys. They obviously want it really bad and just have not been able to get it done at the plate here over the first 2 games of this series. You're looking at one of the newest members of the Cincinnati Bengals. Jesse Bates is with us right now. Jesse, you and I talked yesterday, and you said these last couple of days you've had dreams of what this moment would be like. Did the reality match what you saw in the dreams?
From 2-6-0 to the show. It took Josh Van Meter several years to get here, but looks like he's here to stay in Cincinnati. Over the last couple of weeks, Van Meter has gone from a borderline big leaguer to one of the hottest hitters in the league.
Well, while everyone else was beating up on each other trying to secure a spot in the college football playoff yesterday, old Brian Kelly was able to kick his feet up and relax. No drama for Notre Dame today either. The Irish were expected to be in, and they are. Yeah, forget game of the week. This could very well be the game of the year in Northeast Indiana. East Noble and Leo both came into the night undefeated, both averaging around 50 points per game, and both ranked top 6 in the state in Class 4A. And they were far from done. Next possession, Clark taking the top off the defense, Brody Glenn.
What more can you say?
Finds 6. Sharing is caring, but make no mistake, Sydney not in a good mood this evening. Craig Young finding out the hard way. My goodness, man, we need another look at that one. I mean, that's one of the best athletes in the area, and Curry says nuh-uh and stares him down with it too.
Mason Baker's Twitter bio reads, "God gives his toughest warriors the toughest battles." If you believe that to be true, you won't find many young men tougher than Mason, whose biggest battle yet began on October 19th, 2017.
Mason came from basketball practice, and I had said, I don't really think you need to go out on the four-wheeler. And he was like, Mom, I promise you I will help you when I get home. Well, it wasn't too long after that, my phone rang, and it was a friend of ours. And she had said that he had been in an accident.
I just remember I was riding with my friend, and then I drifted off into a ravine. But when I first crashed, I thought I just got the wind knocked out of me, and I just told my friend I was going to be fine. I was like, I'll just get up, I'll walk out. And then I tried to stand up, and I fell back down, and that's I knew. I was like, it's more than the wind knocked out of me. I told him I broke my back, and he didn't really believe me.
But Mason was right. Among other serious injuries, he fractured 10 vertebrae in his back and came dangerously close to severing his spinal cord. Mason was rushed to the hospital where he underwent surgery that lasted over 7 hours.
And it probably wasn't until after the surgery that we realized how severe it was, even though they were telling us. And Dr. Cashman, who did the surgery and did an excellent job, came in and said he was within a couple millimeters of being paralyzed. Okay, that sounds what? He goes, you realize that's a couple sheets of paper at most. And it's like, oh my.
Although the surgery was a success, doctors made the Bakers no promises. There was no guarantee he'd ever walk again. But Mason wasn't hearing any of that.
I just kept on saying I wanted to keep playing basketball. I never really had doubts that I wasn't going to play again.
He never was negative with us. We were feeling like we weren't sure what was going to happen, but he never wavered. They told him that it would be a year before he played again. He told us it would be 6 months.
Once again, he was right. By April, just 6 months after the surgery, Mason was back on the basketball court.
He played for us in the summer in June. So it happened in October, and all of a sudden in June he's playing basketball again, and we're all like shaking our heads like, how is this happening? And for him to be able to do that was a tribute to him, to his doctors, to the fact that he just stayed with it and was patient.
And that patience is now paying off. Mason is having a breakout season at Columbia City. The sophomore is averaging nearly 6 points per game in his first year on varsity. But for Mason, the stats don't mean as much as they used to. At the end of the day, he's just grateful he still gets to play the game he loves in front of the people that love him most.
It's just amazing that the fact that, you know, he couldn't really even sit up after his accident, and he couldn't bend and do all of those things. So it's truly amazing to watch him run up and down the floor and jump and do all the things that he can do.
It is very fulfilling to know what that meant to him, to know where he's been, how he got here. You know, as parents, there's times you go, oh man, why isn't he scoring better? Why isn't he doing this or that? And then you got to think to yourself, we're just lucky to see him out here run up and down the court.
I just have a different outlook on life now. Just take what God gives you, really. Just be grateful for what you have and don't ask for much more.
Mason and his Eagles will wrap up the regular season with a home game against Concordia tomorrow night. Reporting in the studio, Peter Hood, Fox 55 Sports.